Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. It is today, Friday, and I field questions from people about job search, hiring more effectively, management and leadership, and a whole bunch of other things. So if you've got a question for me on one of these subjects, again, job search, hiring, management and leadership, a career transition, or if you want advice about a particular workplace related issue, put your question into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it today. And I must say, my wife and I celebrated my birthday earlier in the week. It was lovely. It's a terrific restaurant in town. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, called Plant, Plant. It's a vegan restaurant, and you would never know. It's just fabulous food. But I digress. I'm sorry. I'll just simply say if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And my page there is linkedin.com/IN/ the big game hunter. Mention that you saw this. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. Once we're connected, my network tends to be a lot larger than most people's. So just put your questions or comments into chat so I can answer them. Okay. And follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, I release a lot of great information on these subjects daily, and I'm sure you'll find some of it quite helpful for you. In addition, to get to some of my older material, go to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. There you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a paid coaching session, to visit my blog, which has more than 12,000 searchable posts that you can watch, listen to, or read that will help you find work more quickly, manage and lead better, etc., etc. And I'll also mention my YouTube channel at JobSearchTV.com. It has 7,000 plus videos on it at this point. You can also watch me on an app of JobSearchTV.com if you have a Fire TV or a Fire Stick. In addition, if you don't have one of those devices, BingeNetworks.tv streams JobSearchTV.com on their app to more than 300 platforms around the world. And my podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, a huge hit in Apple Podcasts. It's the OG of job search podcasts, more than 2,500 episodes over more than 12 years. On other platforms, it's listed in, I think it was the top 20% on Spotify. I'm sorry, on Anchor. And there was another platform that was rated highly as well. On Spotify, where it's a video podcast, it's in the top 10% of video podcasts in the world. But it's everywhere you can really think of watching a podcast that's available. So if you're here right now and watching, just say hi. I'd love to acknowledge you. Put your hi, how are you into chat so I can say hello to you. And if you're going to join later, feel free to do it, to say hi then. I'd be very happy to say hello to you at that point. Okay. Now, I received a number of questions in advance of the show. And that's one of the things I love to do is receive questions from people. And from there, I know people can't always make the time, but they still have the question. So by connecting with me on LinkedIn, again, linkedin.com/IN/ the big game hunter. You can message me through chat, or of course, you can send it as an email to me so I can answer it on the next available show. Okay. So, like I said, I've got a number of questions I received from people, and here's the first one. Should I withdraw my job application If the interviewer wanted to reschedule for a third time, despite saying that times were available, that looks like a question from the last show that wasn't edited out for me. So I apologize. I'll just simply answer briefly in case I'm wrong. And I'll just say the answer is no, I wouldn't do that. I would say to them, I've scheduled this now. This is my third time scheduling, and I know you're busy, but I don't have infinite time available. I work right now. Um, I have a responsibility in my office. I clear the decks for the conversation, and it's kind of hard to explain twice why I was going to be not available and then available. So if you would, just make sure that you can keep this one. And if they don't like it, you've learned something about them. And when we get to the offer phase, you raise this subject again. Okay. Here's the next one. Okay. I fired a respected employee of my company because we had different visions, but we're now suffering a mass exodus because of that. What should I do as a CEO? Now, if it's true that it's a mass exodus, I don't know what mass exodus means to you. What percentage of people are involved? 10%, 20%, 50%? 50% I see as mass. That affects the operational environment of your firm and a lot of other things. But my first reaction is call a meeting of everyone and talk to them. Uh, and in speaking with them, talk with them about your vision for the firm. Is this a change in direction from what the respected employee thought the direction was? Or was there one vision that they were on board with that the firm had been working its way to for a while, and now you're changing in a completely different direction, but there's been no explanation to the staff? It's usually the latter, and you expect them to follow like sheep, and sheep get slaughtered. So this is someone that they liked and respected, and when they go, people get a little freaked out. So you need to rally the troops and speak with them. Say, look, Joan, Jane, Jack, whatever their name is, and uh, we came to a decision about or I came to a decision about the direction of the firm. And frankly, where we were going previously was not working for us. So I've course corrected, applying some of those lessons. And let me just explain where we're heading to now. And then you do a PowerPoint presentation to your team. And if they still leave, they're not on board with your plans. Good riddance. Replace them with people who are. But the goal, from what I can tell, is to try and salvage as many people from your team as possible because you think they're capable, right? So, with that being the case, you got to treat them like human beings and not just simply people who take your orders and follow them blindly. And I suspect that there's a communications issue that's at play here that is making them um, walk the plank, in effect, and leave. So get in front of this. You're already behind, but get in front of the people heading for the hills and talk to them honestly and openly about how it was not working previously, and we needed to course correct. Um, Joan, Jane, John, Jack, whatever their name is, wasn't on board with this. But we don't have infinite runway. We've got to get out of this. And thus, I made a decision. He or she doesn't like it. I hope you can see the merits of it. If not, I'll be disappointed. Wish you well. Give you references that'll be terrific and support your decision to leave. And perhaps you could recommend someone to me who might be on board with this kind of a vision, and then go out and hire more people. Okay. Now, just remind you, if you've got a question for me about job search, hiring more effectively, managing and leading better, a career transition, or want advice about a particular workplace issue, put your question into chat so I can address it for you and help you move forward. Okay. And I'll also say connect or follow me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/ the big game hunter. Here we go to this next question. What happens when you view a recruiter's profile on LinkedIn? Do they pay attention to that at all in the hiring process? In the hiring process, probably not, except to note that you looked at their profile. Now, in the hiring process is a phrase I don't fully understand. I'll just say, I know when I did recruiting, and even now as a coach, what I often will do is take a look at who looked at my profile. And I'll message them and say, LinkedIn shared that you looked at my profile. Was there something in particular you were looking for there? Now, in the case of a corporate or agency recruiter, they want to find out what it was you were trying to find out about. In much the same way as if they looked at yours, you want to know what prompted them to look at it. Obviously, they were trying to fill a position. Maybe you were trying to get an interview by contacting them, but chose not to. Excuse me one second. Does it advantage you in the hiring process? No, not at all. After all, if you're not qualified, you're not qualified. You're not going to be advantaged in any way, shape, or form. If anything, they're going to pause for a second and go, geez, why this person look at my profile? They've got nothing we look for. And I'll just simply say, what happens is since most recruiters, almost all recruiters, whether corporate or agency, have a paid account, they have the ability to see who looked at their profile and the ability to contact you if your profile looks interesting. Conversely, without a paid account, if you don't have a paid account, you can see, I believe, 3 people max in whatever period of time it is, and they can see all the people who've looked at the profile. So what happens? Nothing in particular, but I've laid out a couple of options that can happen if you look at someone's profile. Okay, let's go to the next one. Do recruiters and HR managers regret not giving a chance to talented individuals or talented candidates and giving employment to undeserving candidates? They don't spend a lot of time discovering the candidate's potential and may miss something important. Do they have regrets? Rarely. They're too busy to have regrets about not interviewing you, let alone hiring you. Remember, they don't know that you're talented until they talk to you. If anything, they look at your profile or your resume and decide you're not qualified for them. They don't try to discover a candidate's potential until they interview you. And in interviewing you, they first want to find out that you're qualified. If you're not qualified, they're probably not going to be interested. So do they regret not giving a chance to a talented person and giving it to an undeserving candidate? Who says they're undeserving? You? You don't know about them. You've made a decision they're undeserving based upon no information other than that they were not you. So cut the crap. They made decisions because not to interview you or hire you, not to interview you because your resume didn't make a case for why you were qualified, and thus you were rejected. And in terms of the other person being undeserving, you don't know anything about them. You've decided that they're undeserving because they're not you. So give it up, please, and move on. Okay. What type of questions do you think? Let me just get to the chat. Bear with me 1 second. What type of question do you think an interviewee gives an interviewee a chance to talk and express themselves more? Open questions or closed questions? Why? Let's see something. TJ, hi, how are you? Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. I'm in the middle of a question. If you've got one for me, feel free to put it into chat. I'll get to it next, okay? So both give you the potential of expressing yourself. Closed-end questions have a reputation for being more limiting. I don't think that's true at all, but they have that reputation as though every question is a yes or no question. They're not. Most of them are pretty specific, and they allow you the opportunity to elaborate upon your answer. Open-ended questions tend to be more general and allow a person to speak. And in doing so, uh, you can talk about a lot of stuff, but I encourage people, don't drone on because people stop listening. It's one of the things that people don't realize about open-ended questions is that when you answer, if you go over a minute 15 to a minute 30, they stop listening. They tune you out. They stop caring about your answer because you should have gotten to the point much earlier. So you can over talk your way out of a job very easily. Uh, so again, whatever answer it is, a minute 15 tops a minute 30 to answer questions. Well, a LinkedIn user asks, what is your opinion on why employers don't hire the right candidate if you are yourself and think you're a good fit? The answer is they disagree, or they found someone they think is an even better fit. Let me deal with my first answer. You think you're a good fit. They've asked you questions to evaluate your knowledge. Let's say fit, you mean fit with the group, not necessarily with the knowledge base. So why do they do this? Again, they have a difference of opinion. Now, remember, you're not the only person that they're interviewing. And in interviewing other people, excuse me 1 second, they may see someone who's an even stronger candidate, more knowledge that's relevant, and maybe an even better fit with the team, with the requirements of the position. So, either it's a disagreement or a disagreement with your opinion about yourself, or they saw someone stronger. And I always want to ask, did you ask them why you weren't chosen? They may not tell you the truth. They may give you we saw someone a lot, stronger than you for this position. Okay, move on. So that's normally what happens. And I speak from the perspective of having worked in recruiting for many, many years and listened to a lot of debriefs from employers after interviews, interviews where they agonized, or as happened to someone whose question I answered earlier in the week. They were on 3 interviews and they got rejected after the 3rd one. And they asked why. And my answer was, because they're just not that into you. So I'll just say, sometimes it's that. Sometimes they see someone stronger. Those tend to be the 2 primary reasons. And if you've got more questions for me, or want me to elaborate about something in particular, feel free to put another question or comment into chat. I'd be very happy to address that. Okay? And TJ, I hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you here soon. How do you best answer the interview question? What other organizations are you pursuing or are pursuing you? Now, let me start off with why they asked the question. So let's say it's an agency recruiter. There are two reasons they do it. Number one is, and this is the wholesome one, they want to see where you are in the process so that they can deduce whether it's worth the effort to try and get you an interview with their client. The less desirable answer is they're trying to get leads of organizations that are hiring so that they can go and try and get the requirement to try and fill the job and earn a fee. That's the way it is. With corporate recruiters, with organizations, it's the first answer, and they're also trying to get a sense of where you are in your process. I remember when I was a beginner recruiter, like my second or third week, and I was interviewing someone, and I didn't know what I was doing, but this person had interviewed at 19 companies and been turned down at 19 companies. The people in my office said very clearly, this person's not any good. 19 quality firms have turned her down. And thus, they were right. This person landed with the kind of organization we never worked with. And as a result, it was impossible to help them land work. So when a person's been on a lot of interviews, they're less placeable. They've probably been to your client, and thus you don't want to invest time. Now, on the corporate side, again, how do you answer this? I would answer it by saying, I've spoken with a number of organizations, and we're not at the offer stage. I'm second interviews with a few of them, and we're not at the point where I'm close to an offer. Well, what firms are they? I don't think that's particularly relevant any more than if I asked you how many people you've interviewed so far and who were they, that you'd find it was any of my business. Well, I have to politely say who I've interviewed with is kind of irrelevant. And I just simply say, if you decide that I'm the right person for you, and Lord knows this seems like a great opportunity for me, I just want to encourage you to make your strongest offer, because I'm sure I'm going to have multiple offers at the end of the day to choose from. So that's how I would address it. And I also spoke about why it's asked. And really, there's no harm that can come to you, but I still would never tell an organization, whether it's an agency recruiter or a representative of a corporation, where I'd been on an interview, because it frankly is none of their business. But I wouldn't say it that way. I'd say it exactly like I said to you in answering this question. Oh, yes. Should a job application rejection letter be mandatory? Why? No. No. Now, most recruiters, corporate or agency, are being spammed with resumes all day long. Seriously. When I still had Job Search Radio as a podcast, on my first show, I commented that I asked my guest, I walk in on a Monday morning and there's at least 200 resumes in my inbox. How many do you think are vaguely qualified? And the answer was 2. 2 might be vaguely qualified. If I have to respond to 198 people to say, oh, sorry, out of luck, well, how do you suggest I go about doing this? Was it They're inputted into the system. I now have to click check boxes, send them all a mass email rejecting them. Meanwhile, more resumes are arriving in my inbox that I have to respond to. And I'm getting phone calls from clients. And if this is a corporation, internal clients, or if third-party recruiter, um, corporate clients, you know, there's new work arriving, and thus to expect that someone is going to respond back is ridiculous. 198 rejections have to go out just based upon what I received walking in the door. So, no, I don't believe so, especially since so many people do little more than spam their resumes and say to themselves, yeah, I'd like to do that job. I know I'm not qualified, but I'd like to do that job. And you think you can assign work to someone so that they respond to you. Okay. Let me continue by saying if you've got a question about job search, hiring more effectively, managing and leading better, resolving a workplace issue, or some other thing, put your question into chat. I'd be very happy to answer your question. Okay. I think I'm just going to end with this next question, unless someone puts a question in the chat, in which case, again, I'd be very happy to answer it. Okay. Um, I'm interviewing with the CEO in the 4th round today on Zoom. Good luck. Do I address them by their first or last name? Last name, I assume, is Mr. or Ms. whatever. The answer is they'll introduce themselves and you'll say, nice to meet you. How should I address you in the course of answering questions? Should I use your first name or do you prefer Mr. and or Ms. so-and-so? And they'll tell you how you can address them. And that's really the way to go about it. So make no assumptions. I personally, when I coached people or when I did recruiting and I was scheduling interviews for people, I would tell them only use their first name. To refer to them as Mr. or Ms. Created a formality that I thought was unnecessary. I think the same is true here. And let them make the choice so that in this way you're not offending by referencing them in a manner that they would not like. Okay. So I'll just simply close out by saying I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, share it, leave a comment, click the like button, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. You can also subscribe to my channel on YouTube, download the app on Amazon, which it appears JobSearchTV.com for a Fire Stick or a Fire TV, or you can watch me on BingeNetworks.tv, another app that streams to more than 300 different platforms around the world. Subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's in the top 10% of all video podcasts in the world, or any place else you listen to podcasts. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. You can also message me on LinkedIn with your questions about these subjects. Follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. And my website, thebiggamehunter.us. Go there to schedule time for a free discovery call, a paid coaching session, to visit my blog that has more than 12,000 searchable posts. Also to find out about my courses, books, and guides. Again, there's a lot there that will help you. I hope you have a terrific day. And most importantly, be great. Take care.